Hello, Assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome to IPA, Islamic Preacher and Apologist. I will be responding to this particular YouTube video where David Wood said, "Who killed Muhammad?" Now this video got almost 300,000 views, whereas this video had 1.4 million views where he said, "Who killed Muhammad?" And this was all in a period of 8 years, and not much has been done about his video. The first things that David Wood says is that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ had many enemies, though he does not bring any references to those enemies, and neither does he bring any reference as to whether our Prophet did such and such to gain enemies either. What David Wood doesn't realize is Jesus too had enemies and people against him. That too in his own hometown. Watch this. It is believed by some to be the site of rejection of Jesus described in the Gospel of Luke. Luke 4:29-30. According to the story, the people of Nazareth, not accepting Jesus as the Messiah, tried to push him from the mountain, but he passed through the midst of them and went away. Not a good sign if your own people of your own town want to throw you out of a cliff. That seems like a very sad thing for one to experience. Getting whipped and beaten and not enough people trying to save. Hey, but there is more. This is by Don Stewart. Why did the religious leaders want to kill Jesus? Reasons listed are the claims that he made, the deeds that he did, his threats to their religious system, his threat to their way of life, the people with whom he socialized, the lack of respect he had for their religion traditions. So basically those people that enjoyed Jesus' wine and Mother Mary were the few itsy-bitsy people who favored Jesus. And why not be few at that time when people are going to read this, not peace but a sword? Do not think that I have come to bring peace to the earth. I have not come to bring peace, but a sword, for I have come to set a man against his father, and a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And a person's enemies will be those of his own household. But it gets worse when you read on. Matthew 10:37. Anyone who loves their father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. Anyone who loves their son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. Now that sounds like a wifey to me saying to a hubby, "Give me more priority, otherwise I will turn a son against his father." All right, but don't kill me. I mean, are you going to do bloodshed just because you want more importance? Come on. And if this reference and being rejected by your own town men is not enough, then this image right over here is doing enough of the speaking. Some of you are going to still argue with me, saying, "But our Jesus was innocently being beaten, and your prophet was poisoned for a right cause." Well, my question is, what history do you have of that Jewish person that our prophet killed? No history, no knowledge. Some of you argue that death for apostasy is not biblical. Then I shall read out Isaiah 65:12-15. I will destine you for the sword, and all of you will fall in the slaughter. For I called, but you did not answer. I spoke, but you did not listen. You did evil in my sight, and chose what displeases me. Therefore, this is what the sovereign Lord says. My servants will eat, but you will go hungry. My servants will drink, but you will go thirsty. My servants will rejoice, but you will be put to shame. My servants will sing out of the joy of their hearts, but you will cry. Cry out from anguish of the heart and wail in brokenness of spirit. You will leave your name for my chosen ones to use in their curses. The sovereign Lord will put you to death, but his servants will give another name. Did I read the word curses? Because people say Jesus forgave and your prophet never forgave. What am I reading? Curses? It can equally be argued If this was the one who used to bring back those from the dead, then how could this be the same person that was being beaten and tortured? How could he not have been able to do anything about that? If you're saying that our prophet endured poison, then wasn't Jesus the one that endured beatings? I would like you to see a small clipping and then I will respond.
According to Sahih al-Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, and other texts, Muhammad was poisoned by a Jewish woman. Sahih al-Bukhari 26:17. A Jewess brought a poisoned cooked sheep for the Prophet, who ate from it. She was brought to the Prophet and was asked, "Shall we kill her?" He said, "No." Anas added, "I continued to see the effect of the poison on the palate of the mouth of Allah's Messenger." People could see the effect of the poison in Muhammad's mouth. The poison apparently disfigured his palate, making his mouth look strange. And why didn't the roasted lamb say something 5 minutes earlier, which would have saved Muhammad's life, not to mention Bishr's life? According to the Quran, when the Jews tried to kill Jesus, Allah intervened and rescued him. This is Surah 4, 157 to 158. Allah took Jesus safely to paradise. He wouldn't give anyone the victory over Jesus. But when a group of Jews wanted to kill Muhammad, what happened? Allah sits back and watches as a woman poisons his prophet, and he does nothing as his prophet dies a humiliating death. Why does Allah protect Jesus from harm, zips him straight to paradise?
No, David, not that straight. Okay, we don't believe in Jesus' crucifixion, but that doesn't mean that Jesus didn't suffer from torture. Jesus did suffer from a handful of torture, a handful of people that were just willing to tear him apart, hang him on a tree and do plenty of harm to him. You know very well getting beaten and badly whipped was a part of what Jesus suffered. Then what makes you think that we Muslims believe that Jesus didn't get not even a little bit of a scratch? Went straight to heaven. David, with 9,000 people going against, stop behaving like my baby in a cradle. Things were much more complicated. Now, since we're talking about babyhood, Jesus and our prophet faced one very similar consequence. It is known that the Jews wanted to kill the messenger, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, on several occasions, including the following. When he was a child, Ibn Sa'd narrated in Al-Tabaqat with an isnad going back to Ishaq ibn Abdullah that when the mother of the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, gave him to the Sa'di woman who breastfed him, she said to her, "Keep him safe." And she told her what she had seen. Halima al-Sayyida passed by some Jews and said, "Will you not tell me about this son of mine? I conceived him in such and such manner, and I saw such and such." And she repeated what his mother had told her. They said to one another, "Kill him." They asked her, "Is he an orphan?" She said, "No. This is his father and I am his mother." They said, "If he had been an orphan, we would have killed him." Halima, his wet nurse, took him and said, "I nearly lost that which had been entrusted to me." Likewise, Jesus too faced the same consequences. Herod was a Jew who tried to kill Jesus soon after his birth. Look at this paragraph. Why did King Herod try to kill Jesus shortly after his birth? After all, what difference could a tiny baby have made to someone as powerful as he was? And you can look it up yourself. King Herod was a Jew. Herod's father was a descendant, an Edomite, whose ancestors had converted to Judaism. Herod was raised as a Jew. What is my point behind bringing those two incidences? To prove that the Jews were not so innocent either in trying to kill innocent babies. Get it? Got it? Good. Now enough of the warm-up exercise and let's go into the real deal. And let's have a dive in the deep ocean. Now let's have a look at this. Difference between when the Prophet was poisoned in the year 628, and when the Prophet died in the year 632. Fans of David Wood and Christian Prince, did you know that there's a huge difference between the Prophet was poisoned, which is in the year 628, and when the Prophet died, which is in the year 632. I mean, in the very maximum, it could take days or a few weeks for poison to actually come into action. But according to the text that David Wood was showing, that the effects of poison was shown and revealed very quickly. Like David Wood earlier said, in Our Prophet's palate.
Muhammad died too. His pain and sickness just lasted much longer.
David took a very big deep breath after saying much longer. Why? Because he knew that much was very much. I just had to pause his breath there just to actually make these comments. Otherwise, you can go back to the video and notice it yourself. Now for David Wood to take another deep breath, because some major events that took place in those 4 years. Expedition to Khyber, pilgrimage at Mecca, conquest of Mecca, Battle of Hunain, expedition to Pbuh, pilgrimage at Mecca. It says in Sahih Muslim 5430, a Jewess came to Allah's messenger with poisoned mutton, and he took off what had been brought to him. When the effects of the poison were felt by him, he called for her and asked her about that, whereupon she said, I had been determined to kill you. Thereupon he said, Allah will never give you the power to do it. Now there is more contradiction. And it's reported that a Jewish woman brought the Prophet, may Allah bless him and grant him peace, poisoned sheep. He ate from it, and she was brought. It was asked, should we not kill her? No, he replied. Adab al-Mufrad. Note, in the version in Abu Dawood, she is ordered to be killed. Now if you look at the other contradictory text, where there is lesser weight in David Wood's claims. So let's have a look, shall we? What motivated you to do the work you have done? She said, if you were a prophet, it would not harm you. But if you were a king, I would rid the people of you. The apostle of Allah then ordered regarding her, and she was killed. He then said about the pain of which he died, I continued to feel pain from the morsel which I had eaten at Khyber. This is the time when it has cut off my aorta. But this is a clear contradiction. First, she was spared, and that Allah would not give her the permission to do that. The hadiths that were published verify our Prophet as a forgiver. Abdullah ibn Umar reported the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings be upon him, was upon the pulpit, and he said, be merciful to others and you will receive mercy. Forgive others and Allah will forgive you. Abu Abdullah al-Khalil reported, I asked Aisha about the character of the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings be upon him. Aisha said, the Prophet was not indecent, he was not obscene, he would not shout in the markets, and he would not respond to an evil deed with an evil deed, but he would pardon and overlook. So contradiction is not only in the references but also describing the nature of our Prophet, which is to forgive and not do evil with evil. And my response to Sunan Abu Dawood 4449, Bashir said to the Prophet during the sickness of which he died, what do you think about your illness? Apostle of Allah, I do not think about the illness of my son except the poisoned sheep of which he had eaten with you at Khyber. The Prophet said, and I do not think about my illness except that this is the time when it cut off my aorta. The other verses seem contradictory and impossible. These expeditions, pilgrimage, and a battle of Hunain that comes in between doesn't seem rather realistic for an ill person to complete. So the weight is only in this particular verse. Sahih Muslim 5430. A Jewess came to Allah's messenger with poisoned mutton, and he took off what he had been brought to him. When the effects of this poison were felt by him, he called for her and asked her about that. Whereupon she said, I had determined to kill you. Therefore he said, Allah will never give you the power to do it. And let's say if we were to believe in all of this for one moment, still there is a contradiction between what is mentioned in the Quran and what is mentioned in the Hadith, and those two words that are used instead of iota. It says in Surah 69, verse 44 to 66. Surah means chapter, and if Muhammad had made up about us some false sayings, we would have seized him by the right hand. Then we would have him cut from the iota. The word used is al-watina. In the Quran, the word that is used is al-watina, iota. And in Sahih Bukhari, book 64, hadith number 4428, the word that is used is abhari, which is shortness of breath, breathlessness, suffocation. So what are the medical symptoms of taking in poison? General symptoms of poisoning can include feeling and being sick, diarrhea, stomach pain, drowsiness, dizziness or weakness, high temperature of 38 degrees Celsius or above, chills, shivering, loss of appetite, headache, irritability, difficulty swallowing, breathing difficulties. That's the breathing difficulty that's mentioned in the hadith. Producing more saliva than normal, skin rash, blue lips and skin, burns around the nose or mouth, double vision or blurred vision. Now, if you're going to say to me, well, why should we believe in you? You are those who practice taqiyya. Well, then why don't you ask your medical doctor that if I take poison, would my aorta be cut? And you can research the side effects of taking poison in your own time. So basically, even if it was the slowest of the slowest poison in the world, the aorta was not cut. One good advantage of going to the medical doctor and asking that if I take poison, would I be suffocating or would my aorta be cut? Now, the doctor would certainly give you a reply, but also ask, who gave you the aorta idea? Then you tell them it's David Wood. Hearing David Wood's name, the doctor would take out David Wood's medical report, which says psychopath. What exactly is psychopath? In short, the path to being a psycho. Here is some more evidence that David Wood is actually a psychopath, is a psycho.
How do we understand the claim that Jesus, peace be upon him, was crucified on a cross, tree, or pole in light of Deuteronomy chapter 21, verses 22 and 23, and Galatians chapter 3, verse 13, which states that whoever is hung on a tree or pole or cross is cursed? Thank you.
Well, I'd say you're about that close to understanding the gospel, right? Because we know Jesus is righteous according to both the Bible and the Quran. Muhammad in the Hadith said that Satan touches everyone who comes into the world, but he couldn't touch Jesus or his mother. Everyone else, Muhammad, everyone, Satan could touch him, but not Jesus. And so, you're right. How do we reconcile our belief that Jesus was righteous with the Old Testament claim that anyone who's hung on a tree is cursed? And it seems that we would have to say that Jesus was cursed in spite of being righteous. And that's exactly what the gospel says, right? The one who is without sin became sin for us. So, if we left those things out, and you would wonder, oh, was Jesus cursed? Well, Jesus was righteous, and yet he was cursed. And notice, he was hung on a tree.
Now, this is the extent of racism. One could accept a madman of one's own race, but not a truthful person of another race. David Wood just needs to confess this.
I know you did it, just admit it. I know you did it, I got it on film. I know you did it, just admit it. I know you did it, just admit it.
Now you're going to say to me, why should we believe in you? You Muslims practice taqiyya. So let me explain to you what taqiyya is. Taqiyya is a concept where Muslims who are living in a non-Muslim land and the non-Muslims begin to persecute and kill the Muslims on the account of their religion. Then those Muslims are allowed to pretend to renounce Islamic faith to save their life. Taqiyya is only done in such extreme situation where life is threatened. Have you ever seen this video? Deception of Christian missionaries in Muslim land. Christian missionaries are lying, pretending and deceiving to spread Christianity. This is how Christian missionaries convert non-Christians to Christianity. Have you read this? The anti-Islamist tries hard to hinder people from truth by their strong attempts to find discrepancy in Islam, but their plots are weak. As Allah said in the Quran, truth has come and falsehood has perished. Indeed is falsehood by nature ever bound to perish. That's the Quran, Surah 17, verse 81. Muslims should have more confidence and faith in Allah in responding the allegations of anti-Islamists. Anti-Islamists, they use references from Tafsir ibn Kathir, who was 700 years after Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. This clipping is going to be included in every YouTube video of mine, just so that people do not message me and say, why should we believe you? You are those who practice taqiyya. Anti-Islamists never message David saying, why should we believe you? You're a psychopath. And one symptom of being a psychopath is that you lie and you deceive. You can check it out on the internet. The symptoms of being a psychopath. David Wood in the same video confesses that in the Quran, Jesus was the one that ascended to heaven. He did ascend to heaven, accepted, but not straight to heaven. He zigzagged to heaven. But if Jesus went to heaven, if we come to that point, who was the one that was crucified and was hanged? Was there someone instead of Jesus that was causing a chaos? Let's suppose, for example, the one that was saying, I come not for peace but a sword, who was making approximately 9,000 people go against him. I ask you listeners one very serious and logical question. Could this be the same Jesus that would save lives? I hope you understand what I mean. We Muslims believe Jesus to be a blessing, not a curse, the way in which David Wood wants to put it. If taqiyya is in our system, it's in our system for a very needy situation such as life and death. But when it comes to David Wood and such critics, it looks like it's in their nature. If you like my video, don't forget to subscribe, and meanwhile, you can start thinking about what I just asked you, about the 9,000 enemy grabber baby. And yes, this website is not to be trusted. Take care and goodbye.